Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good day. This is the third of the videos that are helping you work your way through your second invertebrate or InvertebrateR assignment. This is the one where I wanted to talk very briefly about the final challenge in the assignment. So you've got the context, deep sea hydrothermal vents, isolation, dissimilarity, vulnerability, mining. What? You've got the R component. You've got getting your way through that, and that's going to be great, and it's going to go easily, and you're like Calvin and Hobbes, kind of off on the toboggan into the future. But now you're going to convey, your kind of job as a scientist is to convey what you found and to share your enthusiasm for the understudied and underthought about things that run the world. These little things, these hidden things. That's kind of our obligation. So your 3-minute video, in R, we're going to make a video. And you are, and you have. Flicker, flicker, flicker. Apologies. So the scenario, and you've used this and I used the term before, but this is analogous to an elevator pitch. And that's a phrase that started out in the business community where you get into the elevator and you see a funding opportunity standing beside you, and you've got in between the floors that they've pounded and you've pounded, and you're going to ride along with them and share your ideas. So here's an elevator pitch that clearly went well, that these folks are dancing together by the end of it. That's kind of your ultimate goal, right? But it's not an esoteric, business-based, or academic kind of assignment. This is one of the most transferable skills, practicing this, that you could probably think about achieving in your undergraduate degree. The concise format, the 3 minutes, and we're talking about 3 minutes or less, means you have to convey what are pretty complicated ideas succinctly and engagingly and with enthusiasm. And you can think about them in many different scenarios. They're analogous. They can be used in person, literally in the elevator. They can be used virtually, an interview, or while attending a scientific conference. This is not just a pitch in an elevator. This is a scenario that extends into many different spheres of your life. And as I talked about earlier, in terms of obligations, as a scientist, you have an obligation to be able to explain what it is that you're working on, what it is that you're learning, what it is that you're questioning quickly and efficiently to your fellow scientists, but also to non-scientists, because that makes the science that you're doing more equitable, more accessible, and potentially helps improve public perceptions of science and improving public perception of science, scientists, and truth. So whenever you're giving a talk like this, longer, shorter, length independent, doesn't matter. You need to figure out what's the purpose. Like, what are you doing? Well, what's your goal? So in this case, this is a paper that's been written relatively recently. Smith's going to cough, so he mutes. He pauses. Apologies for the coughing. I think at least one of those snuck through. But thinking about your goal, who's your audience? That's going to come in a second, but essentially, what do you want out of this? Are you looking to engage the listener? Is it just like a conversation opener? Are you talking to a potential collaborator? Do you want to impress the collaborator or engage with them in a way that says, look at these opportunities? Are you talking to funding agencies or benefactors that show to tell them that what it is you're doing aligns with exactly the kind of things that they want to fund? Or are you sharing this with peers who are going to listen constructively, critically, and give you ideas about where it ought to go in the future? Okay. Out of all of those kinds of ideas that have been shared in this paper that I'm pointing at down there, the QR code, that captures kind of the idea of talking about a contemporary capturing of the idea of talking about elevator pitches in science and encouraging them. The scenario that you're doing right now is essentially engaging the listener, right? The audience that you've got is the teaching staff of this course. And you can picture us, you can stare into the camera and picture me, picture Shayla, picture the TAs, picture your parents, but think about that. You're engaging the listener, and you're opening with something that's going to engage them. So you don't just start out and say, and hold up the page and mumble. Start it with a quick why. This is not minutes long. This is like This deep sea, this is incredible and endemic diversity in the deep sea that we are mining for rare minerals, but we don't have any idea of how that process will help us either protect or learn more about, or there's this, that's the scenario that we're talking about. So share that in a minute, in less than a minute, because you've only got 3. So knowing your goal, then knowing your audience. And in your scenario, so you can talk to a general, expert, knowledgeable peers and colleagues in the same field, or even more so like the people on the head of the pin in your same field. So who's your audience? Well, in this case, I would say, and some of you asked about this, so clearly I'm glad you're thinking about it, but you want to presume that you don't need to explain the multivariate statistics. You don't need to explain what a phylogeny is. This is a knowledgeable person that's either not an expert but is or in the same field, but you can get into it right away. So claim them with the burr of interest, but you don't have to lay the groundwork. So, and this is not just an esoteric example, doing a 3-minute presentation like this. This is, like I said, amongst some of the most transferable skills that you might actually create for yourself during your degree, because you can do it virtually, in person, it can be work-based, it can be passion-based, and if you're thinking about a graduate degree, and you're thinking, wow, this is kind of crazy that we're doing like all this work on the assignment, then it comes down to a 3-minute presentation. Well, one of the outputs of doing a graduate degree, a master's or a PhD, is that you spend years of your life becoming an expert on a thing, right? And then at the end of that, you have 20 minutes to talk about that thing. So this actually scales. This is actually more time that you would get in that ratio. And PhD students and graduate students across the country, now around the world, have started engaging in this 3-minute thesis competition that was originally developed by researchers at the University of Queensland in Australia. And there's some links there, some QR codes. If you're looking to see some examples of how folks can use this with very little, like I think they get 1 or 2 slides, so like a printout, right? Just like you have. And go and watch some of those videos. They're for inspiration. And if you're looking, McGill, the lower down URL, McGill has listed some potential skill sets and things that you want to think about. So when you're thinking about your elevator pitch for this second kind of branch or this second chapter of your investigation into the deep sea hydrothermal vent around the world, you need that brief intro or statement of passion. You think about the problem, but then you dive in. So it's your research. How does it solve the problem? What have you contributed? So in terms of where here, you're jumping in like there, right? You don't, so if you're setting up broad global interest, that's like a phrase, a sentence. So if you can match this kind of a map and match your audience and always be aware as you're talking about what your goals are to share with that audience, you're going to get through it. And as I suggested in the first time, nobody likes talking to themselves in a room. Trust me on that one. But what you can do with this is use Zoom, use your phone, use whatever, but practice it. This is so just like the first time. Do not edit the videos. Do not prepare a script and then be seen to be reading the script at the bottom of the screen. That's not what we're looking for. This is you talking for 3 continuous minutes about what you've done and using the paper printout to annotate and to share. And certainly don't hold it upside down, hold it right side up. And so, but practice it. So record it. It didn't go well. It was too long, or you didn't like the way that things, or it fell off the page. Whatever. That's a practice run. You get more familiar and better at these kinds of things, at like most skills, as you do it, as you repeat them. So don't edit the videos. Don't read off a script. Pair up with a friend. Have somebody to be talking to on the other side, or paste a picture of whoever that is that you want to be talking about. You can and you should be annotating, particularly now because we have some statistics and results of statistical tests that go along with our visualization. Attach the paper so you can move it around. And think about lighting. The only thing I would say think about lighting is like, don't have your open window behind you. If you're going to have an open window, have it in front of you so that we can still see you and see the paper that you're showing and the enthusiasm that you're sharing. So that's it. The R routine, we talked about context, we talked about running R, some suggestions about why this is a really strong and important skill for you to pick up. Keep these in your back pocket for the future, because you can, as I've said several times, adapt these to run in the future. And as I always think is walking out of a room.
This is it. We'll hit the heights. And oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show. This is it.
So thanks. Take care of yourself. Take care of those around you. And I hope you enjoy this.